Welcome to AFSPA Talks, a production of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. Each month, we deliver informative health and wellness topics you want to know about, so make sure to subscribe to us on your preferred podcast platform. And if you have any questions about content discussed in this episode, ask them at AFSPA Live, our live Q&A session streaming every last Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/AFSPA Cares. Now here's your host, Chief Executive Officer Kyle Longton.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of AFSPA Talks. I'm Kyle Longton, and along with me is
Maddie Norton.
Maddie. It's still October. It's
It is.
definitely fall now.
It is. It is very chilly outside.
And open season is almost upon us.
I know. We're almost a month out from the recording date, I should say. Yeah.
Yes, we are, exactly. And by the time this episode reaches our listeners, I'll actually be out on the road for open season travel in Asia.
Right.
Doing some scaled back travel this year, but we're still going to meet with some of our provider partners and offer a few in-person events overseas, but most of it's going to be virtual.
Yeah.
And I think we've got that information about those virtual events already on our website, right?
Yes, we should have those on our website. And obviously it'll be Kyle, as usual, giving the presentation on our updated plan benefits. And you can tune into those. We'll have multiple times, whether you're abroad or if you're in the US. We try to account for the time zone differences so that everyone can attend.
In the morning, in the evening.
Yep. Any time of day. So definitely check out our events page to register for those, and you'll be able to be with Kyle in that presentation and then also ask any questions you have afterwards. So definitely look out for that. And on the webinar front for Prudential, we have a financial wellness happening tomorrow, technically, for when this comes out. And so definitely sign up for that if you have any questions about your finances or just, want to get a general feel of, where you're at in life. So definitely sign up for that. There's 15-minute time slots from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So go to our events page again, afspa.org/events, and you can register there. And of course, always our last event of the month will be AFSPA Live. So on October 30th, we will have our guest actually from today's episode back on AFSPA Live. And she will be answering questions all about menopause, symptoms, stages, treatments for it, and specifically how Maven Clinic can help treat all of those. So if you have any questions and you want to know the answer, submit your questions through the form in the show notes, and we will be sure to add them to the show and get them answered for you. And if you're not familiar with when AFSPA Live is, it is on October 30th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't make that date, don't you worry. It is immediately uploaded to our YouTube channel at AFSPA Cares right after we finish it. So you can watch any of our episodes whenever you want at any time, all on our YouTube page. So I think I covered all of the events, Kyle. It's a lot of them.
I think so. I think that's in that we can get people to the events page, and if we miss anything, it's there.
It's there.
Absolutely. And before we get to today's interview, I just want to take a step back because yes, our focus today, AFSPA Talks Menopause, and we're talking about menopause with the Maven Clinic. But I just want to talk a little bit about how we got to this partnership.
For sure.
About 3 to 4 years ago, there was a task force set up at the Department of State to look at women's health needs. And I believe it was chaired by a person who's now our board chairperson. She was the director general at that time. And the chief medical officer, or she may have been deputy at that time, but both women, both looking to their colleagues to find out about what their colleagues need. And they specifically focused on women's health. That was what the task force asked folks about. And there was an anticipation that there would be questions about infertility treatment because that wasn't covered by FEHB plans at that time. That tells you at least 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But what came back was that a lot of people were looking for support with perimenopause and menopause. So a little bit later stage in life than maybe the family formation stage, but that they didn't know where to turn for that. And so they really appreciate that the task force shared that with us honestly, and we were able to go out and find this partnership through our existing collaboration with Aetna. They had this partnership with Maven Clinic. We were able to bring it to our members. Um, Fantastic. I'm not going to give away too much. You may already know about Maven Clinic. I know that we're going to start with that in the interview, but before we get to the interview and sort of dive into the specifics about menopause, Maddie, can you tell us about our guest today and who will be our guest on October 30th for AFSPA Live?
Absolutely. I would love to introduce her. So, Shardae Jackson is currently a senior client success manager at Maven Clinic based in Phoenix, Arizona. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Public Health, and she has 8 years of experience in the healthcare industry, specializing in developing and managing well-being programs for employers across the country. In her spare time, she enjoys exploring various wine regions, reading mystery books, and spending time with her family. And we are so excited to interview her today and learn a little bit more about menopause and how Maven Clinic can help.
Absolutely. And I'm going to have to take a discussion with her about mystery books
I
offline. That may
know,
be a
I
whole
know.
other podcast that we
Right.
have to launch. So in the meantime, let's get to the discussion. Shardae, welcome to AFSPA Talks. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. And I just want to start off. We've talked with some of your colleagues recently, but for our listeners who are not familiar, could you provide a basic overview of Maven Clinic?
Yeah, of course. So in short, Maven is the world's largest virtual clinic for women and families, delivering 24/7 coaching, education, and support throughout their family building journeys and beyond through our virtual provider network and medically approved resources. And what's great is that ASPA members enrolled in the FSBP health plan administered by Aetna have access to Maven's full suite of programs at no cost, which includes our fertility and family building program, maternity and newborn care, parenting and pediatrics, and menopause and midlife health, which we'll be focusing on today.
Yay. And like you just said, we were focusing specifically on the Menopause and Midlife Health program. We recently had Maven on AFSPA Live to discuss breastfeeding. But many of our members were chatting with us and sending in questions specifically about the menopause program. I know that they've been wanting to hear all about how to treat it, how to manage symptoms, things like that. So, would you explain, just for those not familiar with it, what menopause is before we dive into the specifics of the program?
Yeah, of course. I think that's a great idea. So first things first, menopause is a natural biological transition that marks the end of a woman's reproductive years. And so it's officially defined as going 12 months without a menstrual period. And the average age for menopause is around 51 years old, though it can happen earlier or later depending on genetics, health, or lifestyle factors. And the transition usually begins with perimenopause, which can start several years before menopause, often in the mid to late 40s. And so during this time, hormone levels fluctuate and symptoms may begin to appear. And then once someone reaches menopause, those hormones, those levels stay steady and low. And while some symptoms may ease, others can continue into postmenopause.
And I appreciate that you mentioned perimenopause. And I'll just say that I'm approaching my 40s, and I'm hearing many of my friends and contemporaries talking about feeling like that's starting for them maybe earlier than they anticipated. And so I have not pushed them on details. So I'm going to ask you some general questions then on that topic. What what issues do those experiencing menopause face? What are the symptoms, for lack of a better word, perhaps?
Yeah, so during perimenopause, when hormones first start to fluctuate, people often will notice irregular periods, hot flashes, or night sweats. So, those sudden waves of heat that can happen during the day or wake you up at night. Sleep changes are also pretty common, whether it's trouble falling asleep or waking up frequently. And then beyond the physical symptoms, many people notice emotional and cognitive shifts. So things like mood changes, irritability, brain fog, or even a dip in confidence or motivation. And this can be really confusing because it sometimes overlaps with busy life stages, like balancing work, family, and maybe aging parents as well. So it can be pretty easy to brush it off as just stress. And then other symptoms can also include vaginal dryness, changes in libido, joint pain, and shifts in weight or metabolism. And then in postmenopause, the focus often turns to longer-term health, such as bone and heart health, because lower estrogen levels can affect those systems over time. And I guess the key thing to remember is that like no two experiences are the same. Some people may have mild symptoms, while others find the transition a bit more disruptive.
Good to know. I think that's always important to keep in mind that everyone's experience is different. And
Yeah.
if you're experiencing this, then, your friend might not have the same symptoms as you do, and that's totally normal. So with these symptoms and the impact on daily life, how can Maven Clinic specifically help those experiencing menopause? Like, what does support from Maven look like?
Okay, great question. So with Maven, truly we're here to provide the kind of support that's often missing from traditional care. So just really think of us as a safe and trusted space where members can get personalized coaching and expert guidance through every stage of menopause. And what makes Maven so special is that it wraps all aspects of care, from medical, emotional, and professional, into one easy to access digital platform. So for example, when you first sign up for Maven, you will be matched with a dedicated care advocate who becomes your go-to guide throughout your menopause journey. And so they take time to understand your needs, help you identify where you are in your transition, and connect you with the right providers or coaches based on your goals, whether that's managing symptoms, improving sleep, or getting emotional support. And then we also do provide 24/7 access to an expansive network of women and family health providers across over 30 specialties. So you can meet with OBGYNs, pelvic floor physical therapists, mental health providers, nutritionists, OBGYNs, the list really goes on there. And then in addition to that, we also do have a library of MD-approved medically backed resources, from articles, videos on everything from symptom management and nutrition to mental health and relationships. And so, yeah, we have a full plethora of resources that you'd be able to take advantage of.
Sounds truly comprehensive and fantastic. So I shouldn't be asking this, but I'm going to. Is there a catch? You mentioned it's available 24/7. Is it available worldwide? That's particularly important for our members.
There is no catch. So Maven is available at no cost to all AFSPA members enrolled in the FSBP health plan administered by Aetna, as well as partners and spouses. So you can book as many appointments as you like with Maven providers. You can attend as many on-demand classes as you want, all for free. There's no limit, no copay, no out-of-pocket expenses for you to use Maven. And yes, also on the last question, Maven does provide support to international members all over the world. We currently have members in over 175 countries. So I encourage you to sign up if you're eligible.
We love that.
Well, I know that is incredible. And I know our members definitely appreciate that. And I just want to jump in and ask, sometimes people will think that menopause can be a taboo topic, even though it shouldn't be, just like how some people think mental health is something that shouldn't be discussed daily or with friends, among colleagues. So I'd love to know specifically about how Maven is unique in that way by addressing the issue, making it something that's common and something that can be addressed and can help people actually going through that experience. So what makes Maven unique to that?
Yeah, I think what makes Maven unique is that we're addressing a real gap in healthcare. I think to your point, for too long, menopause has been treated as a taboo topic, and it's something people just have needed to push through on their own, unfortunately. And because of that, there hasn't been many accessible resources or providers who truly specialize in that stage of life. And so, unfortunately, many people end up feeling dismissed or uninformed or really just kind of unsure where to turn.
Right.
And so Maven changes that by creating a safe and trusted space for open conversation and expert guidance. And with our three key pillars of care that I mentioned earlier, I think to answer this long-answered question, I think what sets Maven apart is that we're bringing together the clinical expertise, emotional support, and also community connection by helping members feel informed, supported, and empowered through every phase of menopause.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned the eligibility before. We've hit, I think, the high points of Maven generally, but specifically for the menopause program. So how can someone sign up to one of the FSBP members who's covered? How can they sign up for Maven?
Yeah, so there's two different ways that you can sign up. You can go through your phone or computer. I will say the most popular route is via your phone. So you can actually download the Maven Clinic app directly from the App Store. But if you do want to sign up on your computer, you can get there by using the URL mavenclinic.com/join/FSBP. And that'll take you initially to the sign up page where you'll put in some eligibility information like your first, last name, date of birth. And then from there, you'll select which program track is relevant to you. So today we're talking about menopause, but you do also have support for other life stages. So pick what's most applicable. And then once you're in, you'll have immediate access to book an appointment with your care advocate. And then from there, you'll also be able to meet directly with our providers, view our classes, join our community groups, and so on.
Gotcha. Good to know. And I know a lot of topics or a lot of treatments surrounding menopause can be hormone therapy. And I just want to ask on behalf of our members if they were interested in starting hormone therapy to treat menopause. Is that something that they would go through Maven for, or is that something that they would need to talk to their PCP about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our providers can definitely explain and provide any sort of guidance on treatment. However, we will not prescribe or suggest, what medications you should take. We would encourage any member that is interested in that type of support with getting prescriptions to work directly with their PCP for that.
So, Shardae, we know how to sign up. We know everything that Maven offers. What would you say to people who are unsure about using Maven, particularly for support with menopause symptoms?
Yeah, and I can completely understand why someone would feel maybe hesitant or unsure. I think, to our point, for a long time, menopause hasn't really been talked about openly, and that's what's left many people feeling like they have to manage it on their own. But the great thing is now you don't have to do that. Maven was built, to change that experience and to create a space where you can feel comfortable, seek guidance and support, and really understand what's happening in your body. And we know that it works, right? After just 3 months of using Maven, 93% of members reported that they experienced a reduction in the severity of at least one menopause symptom. And about 2 in 3 members that use Maven say we've helped them understand how to expect and how to manage their symptoms. So I'd say, if you're unsure, just take that first step. Maven isn't about replacing your doctor or doing it alone. It's about giving you a team and the tools to help you feel supported, informed, and in control during this stage of life.
Perfect. And hopefully, this podcast episode helps break down some of the stigma surrounding menopause. And if any of our members listening right now have questions after listening to this podcast, then definitely submit them through the form in our show notes. And Shardae will be joining us for AFSPA Live on October 30th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to just discuss more menopause. So we are so excited for that. But before we go, Shardae, do you have anything else you'd like to share with us?
Well, no, I think, first I just want to say thank you all so much for having us join the conversation. Menopause is a completely natural stage of life, and it's time that we talk about it openly and without stigma. So super excited and happy to be a part of the conversation. Everyone's experience, does look different, but with the right information, care, and community, you can all move through it confidently and feel your best. So thank you so much, and looking forward to joining you all on ASPA Live.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks again to Shardae Jackson from Maven Clinic for joining us today. For members who are interested in learning more about Maven Clinic or even signing up for one of the many programs they offer, you can go to mavenclinic.com/join/FSBP or click the link in the show notes. This has been AFSPA Talks, a production of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. All information offered in this podcast is meant to be educational. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily represent AFSPA. Should there be any discrepancy between information offered in this podcast and official plan documents for the Foreign Service Benefit Plan or the other products offered by AFSPA, the policy provisions will prevail. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe or follow AFSPA Talks on your favorite podcast platform to catch our next episode. Please rate and review us as well, and share your feedback with us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Search for @AFSPA Cares.
Thanks for listening to this episode of AFSPA Talks. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss an episode. If you have any follow-up questions about the topics in this episode, join our AFSPA Live Q&A session on the last Thursday of every month. We will be streaming live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AFSPA Cares. Thanks for listening.